Welcome back to another episode of The Last of Us Talk Show. I'm your host, Mikey. Today we are doing the Season 1, Episode 9, Look for the Light spoiler review. And first up, let me say sorry for the delay. Normally it wouldn't take me a whole week to get the spoiler review out, and the way normally we were doing it was like the instant reaction. 3 or 4 days later we would have the spoiler review, and then the game comparison review a day or two later. This week, oh my goodness, I lost my voice. I had gotten sick at the end of last week and I felt like I was getting better, and then all of a sudden I had lost my voice. Like, I don't know what in the world happened, but it wasn't good to record. So here we are, almost a week from when the episode aired, and just now getting into this episode. But this is one that's worth the wait, right? I mean, I'm sure you've all been thinking about it and having discussions about it with friends, co-workers, family, people online, because this is a fun one to discuss. Normally, I don't listen to anything before I record the spoiler review, but this one was just too much fun. So I definitely listened to all the official Last of Us podcast with Neil Druckman and Craig Mazin and Troy Baker. I listened to a bunch of interviews with them. I watched the making of the Last of Us special that aired right after the finale. The season finale was over, so I did take in a lot, and normally I wouldn't do that because I don't want like the opinions of the showrunners or the people on the show to color my opinions of what's happening on the show. But this episode, it's the thing that everybody's been talking about who's been a Last of Us fan from the video games, that they've been talking about for the last 10 years. So I have held these feelings for 10 years, so I wasn't worried that taking in any of that extra content was going to color my opinion. So with that being said, let's get into it. The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 9, Look for the Light, directed by Ali Abbasi, starring Pedro Pascal as Joel, Bella Ramsey as Ellie. We had Merle Dandridge return as Marlene, and Ashley Johnson making her debut in the series as Anna. And what an amazing job she did. We open up the show with her. In fact, it's this woman running through the woods, who we come to know as Anna. She's obviously pregnant here. She makes her way to a farmhouse and calls out for help. Nobody's there, so she makes her way upstairs and locks herself in a room and blocks the door using a chair. And she sits down against the wall opposite of that door and gets her switchblade ready. As she was going through the house here, I should mention, her water broke, and so like this baby is coming, it's on the way. She's going through labor when an infected breaks in. This is obviously what she was running from. We never saw it outside, but this infected chased her all the way through the woods into this house and then upstairs and broke in. She fights this infected. Hand-to-hand combat. This is I don't know, maybe it's because I have a wife who I've watched her give birth to 5 children, and I don't know if it was just because of that I was extra panicked in this situation, but my goodness, I was extra panicked. This infected seemed scarier than any of the other infected that we'd seen throughout the series. And again, maybe it was just because I'm being sensitive to the situation that it's a pregnant woman. But oh my gosh, it was one freaky looking infected to me. But Anna fights the infected. She's able to kill it with her switchblade. She looks down after she throws this dead infected off of her, and she sees that her baby has been born. It's laying there on the floor. And she sees that she was bit on her thigh. She quickly grabs that switchblade, cuts the umbilical cord. She picks up her baby. She holds her. She's crying. The baby's crying, that is. And Anna says, "You tell him, Ellie. You're so tough." And then we cut to now it's in the middle of the night, and we see Marlene and a group of fireflies approach the farmhouse. Marlene searches the house, and then she hears Anna upstairs singing an aha song, by the way, to Ellie upstairs. So Marlene goes upstairs, enters the room where Anna is, and finds her holding the baby in one arm, and Anna is holding the switchblade to her neck with her other hand. Just, oh my gosh, what a powerful scene, right? Like, here's this new mother, only hours as a new mother, knows she's bit, she's infected, she's going to turn, and ready to, she's been holding on, trying to keep this baby safe this entire time, but ready to end her own life to make sure that this baby survives. And she's just waiting for somebody to arrive so that they can take this baby from her. We see that Anna's infection has obviously spread. Anna just kind of looks up at Marlene and smiles. She says, the baby is hungry, needs to be fed, but she didn't want to nurse her. Obviously, she's infected. She's worried that nursing her could infect her, I guess. Anna tells Marlene that she cut the cord before she was bit, which is a lie. We saw that, she was bit on her thigh and then quickly cut the cord, but she had already been bit. Anna tells Marlene that she wants her to take Ellie, find someone in Boston to raise her, and give Ellie her switchblade. And then she places the switchblade on Ellie and wraps her in her jacket. Marlene says she can't. And this is, how long have we known each other? And Marlene says, our whole lives. And it says, okay, so take her, and then you kill me. And she kind of like does, like the old lady we saw at the very beginning of the series, right? She kind of twitches here. She's grunting. She's obviously starting to turn. Marlene quickly picks up Ellie. I kind of felt like it was like a scared reaction, like, oh, Anna's about to turn any second here. I better get this baby away. So she takes the baby and says, "But I can't kill you, Anna," and walks away. And we hear Anna begging. Marlene hands the baby to a soldier out in the hallway, marches back into the room where Anna is, and executes her. My goodness, this was amazing. This whole opening segment is probably only like 10 minutes, but so powerful. Again, maybe it's just, as a husband and a father who's I've seen my wife again give birth to 5 children. Just seeing this pregnant woman, by herself running through the woods is already scary enough. And then seeing that an infected is chasing her, she has to fight an infected by herself while going through labor. This was just so powerful. And then again, to see her ready to, sacrifice her own life to extend her child's life, just as you would imagine uh, a parent would do. Just amazing opening scene. I will say this, because we're so late with this episode, we still will do a game comparison episode, but this scene, none of this is in the video game. So this was awesome to see in the live action show. I'm so glad that this was added in. This is not in the game at all. I mean, we only get Anna is only mentioned, that Marlene knew Ellie's mom, and that's all we really know about Anna in the game. We know the Switchblade was her, and in the game she left a letter for Ellie. We'll talk about it when we get to the game comparison, but we don't actually ever see her. We don't know how she died. We don't know how Ellie became immune, and we get that all here. I mean, we are to assume that Ellie is immune because I guess just enough cordyceps was passed to her through the umbilical cord before Anna cut it. That's kind of what I assumed that they were trying to show us here on how Ellie became immune. But yeah, absolutely love this scene. The performances of Ashley Johnson was just out of this world, and so surreal to hear her voice talking as Ellie's mom, because she is a voice actor, but when she does her voice acting for a lot of things, but in The Last of Us as Ellie, she just talks using her own voice, so it's just really surreal to hear the video game Ellie talking and giving birth to the TV show Ellie. That was really cool. Let's see here. Let's keep moving on. So after we get that awesome opening scene, we cut back to the present day, and Joel is calling out for Ellie, but she's zoning out. Joel has found some Chef Boyardee and Boggle, and is trying to talk to Ellie about it. She's obviously despondent, and Joel's trying to cheer her up. They are in Salt Lake City. We see that they are on the highway, and they're following signs for an exit to a hospital, and hoping it's the right one. Joel mentions that he saw a smashed guitar in RV, and says that he should find a good one, and he could teach Ellie to play. Ellie is still zoning out here, and she takes her a second to respond, but she says, yeah, that would be great. And they continue on their journey here. We see them walking through an alley, and Joel is about to explain what his plan is to get through the city here, but Ellie interrupts, and she's like, I know, cut through the alley, find a skyscraper, go up and look around. Joel says, no, we're going to blast through some rubble with some dynamite I found back there. And Ellie gets a little bit excited here, showing that, maybe there's something that could get her out of her funk a little bit. And we all understand why she's, not feeling good. But Joel's just trying to liven her up, I guess, a little bit, or just get her back to her old self. So Ellie's like, really? And Joel's, of course, like, no. And he says exactly what the plan is, which is exactly what Ellie said. So they enter a building. It looks like a parking garage. And they get up to they get into this building. They need to get up, so Joel suggests that he boosts Ellie to the next floor, and she passes down a ladder to him that he sees up there. Ellie again here she's like looking at some like blueprint plans or a map or something, and she's zoning out. And Joel asks if she's okay, and because she's quiet today, more quiet than usual. And from the time period from the last episode to this episode, I think we can assume it's been a couple of few months once again. The last episode was in the middle of winter, lots of snow around. Now we're in Utah, and no snow around to be seen, so we are to assume that it is now the spring, which would follow the same timeline as the video game. So this is at least a couple of months later from the end of the last episode. So it seems like, the last couple of months has been really hard for Ellie, understandably. And I guess maybe she's been quiet a lot, but she seems extra quiet today. She says she's okay, and then she takes the boost up from Joel. She gives the ladder. She starts to pass it down to Joel, but gets excited and starts to run, and the ladder drops. Joel quickly picks up the ladder and chases after her, while Ellie's, you kind of hear she sounds kind of excited, and she's yelling back for Joel to hurry. And Joel catches up to Ellie, and she is on a balcony on the floor that they just got to, and just looking and hanging out with this giraffe that's got its head poking into the room here. And this was a scene that a lot of people were waiting for. Again, there were multiple times where I saw people online expecting this scene a lot sooner, because they didn't quite remember where this scene was supposed to happen, but this is where it happens. And again, this is just a great scene. Again, we're seeing how how sad, depressed, despondent that Ellie is feeling in this moment, and has been feeling. And seeing these giraffes, this is the first time, just like it was the first time she had ever seen monkeys back in Colorado. Now she's seeing giraffes for the first time up close and personal. And this, this finally kind of gets her back to her old self, and gets her out of, the mood that she's been in. Joel helps Ellie feed it. He watches Ellie feed the giraffe, and then it walks off, and Ellie wants to follow it, so they follow it outside and get to this balcony, and then they see like a whole, I guess, herd of giraffe out there. And yeah, again, just a great scene here for me, because just to see Ellie kind of, as a father, to see your children feeling that bad, you're trying to do anything, and Joel here, he's trying to do anything. He's finding Chef Boyardee. He's found a boggle game. He's talking about teaching her guitar. He's trying to do anything to try to get her to feel okay. And that's what a parent would do. And then when it's not working, you feel bad, and then something comes along and helps that out. That's just, amazing to see your child go from not being okay to being okay. So and again, that was like a really powerful moment in the game. And I'm wondering if it worked as well as the video game, because in the video game, you're usually just playing along. So we didn't have like you don't have like a week-long wait between what happened with David to then getting to this moment. It's very short in the game. They happen one right after the other. So if you are just a show watcher, I would love to know if this moment hit really hard for you, like it did when the first time I played the game. They're out here on the balcony though, and Joel says to Ellie, "There, there might not be something bad out there, but there might be too." And all he's saying is it's risky, and they don't have to keep going. They could just turn back now and go back to Tommy's and forget this whole thing. Ellie's like, no, after everything she's been through and everything that she's done, it can't all be for nothing. She says after they are done, they can go back to Tommy's, a sheep ranch, the moon. She will follow Joel wherever he wants to go after this. She says there's no halfway with this though, and we need to finish what we started. They continue on up and end up in an area that was set up by the army as an emergency medical camp. Joel explains. He says that he ended up in one on the second day of the outbreak for the wound on his hand, the scar on his head. And Ellie says, "Oh yeah, the guy who shot and missed." And she's like, "At least the army was better at stitching you up than me." And Joel kind of stops in his tracks as Ellie keeps walking. She's, the draft kind of, like I said, brought her out of her funk a little bit, and she's a little bit more talkative now. And just being in this setting, I think Joel set something off, and he's been, and he's got this connection to Ellie now, so he can be open with her. And he says, "It was me. I was the guy who shot and missed." Says that Sarah died. He didn't see the point anymore, and he doesn't know why it happened or how it happened, but he went to pull the trigger and he flinched, and it just nicked him in the forehead. Still can't explain it, but that's what happened. He's gonna tell her why he is telling her this, and then she says, "I know why," and he just says, "I reckon you do." And Ellie says, "Time heals all wounds, I guess." Joel says it wasn't time that did it, and he, is looking, directly in Ellie's eyes and longingly, like, wow. That's the real moment where he's like telling her without saying "I love you" like a daughter. He's saying that basically. He's saying it without saying it. And they share a look with each other, and Ellie says, "Well, I'm glad that didn't work." And he says, "Yeah, me too." But I thought this was a really moving moment. Again, just a little preview. Yeah, they have a similar moment like to this in the game, not exactly the same. And I actually really, really enjoy and prefer what we got here. I feel like it's a stronger connection that they make here than the connection that they have in the game. So they have this another moment here, and they get up, they start to walk again, and Joel says, "I'm in the mood for some puns," and Ellie's excited about that. He actually wants to hear the puns now. She reads some out, and they're walking along when all of a sudden they are ambushed from behind. This group of fireflies comes up from behind them. Someone throws a flashbang. It explodes at their feet, and they are stunned. And the men pick up Ellie, and she is yelling back for Joel. And then they knock Joel out by hitting him with the butt of a gun. And oh my goodness, was this a revelation for me on the second watch. Again, I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens, but this is different than the game. And at first watch, I didn't like it very much. On second watch, it blew my mind because Ellie was conscious when the fireflies took her. The flashbang goes off. They're both stunned, but Ellie is conscious. The fireflies soldiers pick her up, and she's yelling for Joel, worried for Joel. In my mind, even the first time I watched it, in my mind, she was just unconscious because that's what I'm used to seeing in the game. That's in the game. She is unconscious in this moment when the soldiers take her, and they also end up knocking out Joel. So to me, this makes it what we find out later in the episode. It makes it even like it even brings up stronger emotions for me, stronger feelings about what happens later in the episode, because now I realize on second watch that Ellie was conscious in this moment. So now, saying all that, they knocked out Joel, and now Joel wakes up in a hospital bed. Marlene's there, says, "Welcome to the Fireflies." Marlene says, "Sorry, Patrol didn't know who you were, and don't worry, Ellie didn't get hurt." And Marlene's like surprised that they made it because she had 5 men with her, and they barely made it. One thing I want to address here too, I saw a lot of people online being like, "Oh, well, why didn't Marlene just take Ellie in the first place?" You got to remember back to the first episode. She was shot. She was injured. A lot of the fireflies had just been taken out in a skirmish, and obviously she was hurt too. She needed to get Ellie out right away, and so she had Joel and Tess take her. And remember, it was just supposed to be like an overnight thing where Joel and Tess are gonna get Ellie to this building where the fireflies are, and then they're gonna take her from there. Well, remember, Joel and Tess got there. All the fireflies were dead. And then they were attacked by infected. So they had to make a run for it. And then the journey goes on from there. But that's why Marlene didn't take Ellie herself. She was injured. And then the next place where they were supposed to drop off the Ellie to the fireflies, they were all dead. And then they keep running into problems all the way along until they get there themselves. Joel does give credit to Ellie. She says, it was her. She was determined to get here. And Marlene's like, she would have been dead on day 1. She's like, "Joel, you're the last person I want to be in debt to. But here we are." And Joel's like, "Okay, well, I want to see Ellie." But Marlene says, "You can't. She's being prepped for surgery." And here's where my emotions get really, really strong here with the conversation that happens next year, and especially now knowing that Ellie was conscious when they took her. Okay, brings up even stronger emotions for me. So what Marlene tells Joel here is the doctor thinks the cordyceps has grown with her since birth, and it makes normal cordyceps think that she is cordyceps, and that's what makes her immune. The doctor thinks he can remove the cordyceps from her, multiply the cells in the lab, and produce chemical messengers so that they can give it to everyone. The doctor thinks it could be a cure. Okay, so a lot of stuff to unpack here. The first thing I want to address is, again, something I've seen, on social media, people making us think about, or some people making us think about. So if Ellie is got this, cordyceps growing in her brain, and it makes the cordyceps think that she is cordyceps, why? And obviously she's had it since birth. So why is she attacked um, by infected, at the mall and other places along the journey? When we saw with Tess, that the infected, they can recognize when there is another infected and then just help spread. In my head canon, here's how I explain that in my own head canon. Okay, Ellie is immune, but we've seen that a scanner will show that she is infected when they scan her. But the dog could not, was not able to smell it on her. So the way I see it is, yeah, it's technically there, but it's like a dormant thing that is only active in the case of, if an infected tried to, or if an infected bit her, then that's when the chemicals are getting sent out saying, oh, don't worry, we're already cordyceps in here, there's no reason to spread. So it's not like the infected are sensing that she has this thing growing in her, because it's not growing, it's just like laying there dormant in her. So that's my head canon. Let's keep going with conversation here, and the whole idea that the doctor thinks these things could be a cure, right? There's a lot of thinking and possibility here. It's not a sure thing. So that is not good. So we know why Joel, what he does later. No, it would be different if it was 100% thing. But if it's not 100%, knowing this is going to work, you can't just take somebody that just got into your possession, who you already know is immune. You can't just be like, oh well, we got to kill her right away because this is going to make a cure. You better be 100% sure, because if you kill this little girl who is immune, if it ends up being wrong, then she's dead, and then you don't have anything else to test to see what else you could do. So this with that being said, Joel says, cordyceps grows inside the brain. Marlene says it does. Joel says find someone else. Marlene here says it's okay, they didn't tell her, so she won't have any fear and there won't be any pain. This is why my mind is blown here, because again, in the game she is unconscious. In the game we are to believe that they just took Ellie's already unconscious body, hooked her up, and got her ready for surgery, and they were going to do what they did, or they were going to do what they planned on doing. In the show here, what we are to understand is she was conscious when they took her. They had conversations with Ellie while Joel was knocked out, and they didn't tell Ellie exactly what they were doing or what the stakes were. They didn't tell her that she was going to die for them to uh to do brain surgery. They probably didn't even tell her that they were doing brain surgery. They probably just, you know, told her, "Hey, we're going to run some tests and see, how you're immune." When in fact they already have an idea of why she's immune, and they are going to kill her to try to make a cure. So that blows my mind, because they had plenty of chances to give her a choice about this, and they chose not to. Even in the game, they obviously could have let her waited until she was conscious again. But something about her being conscious the whole time, having conversations with her, it just feels even more sneaky and dirty than it did in the video game. So they explain, yeah, she's not going to have any fear, she won't have any pain. Joel gets up and yells, "Take me to her right now." A soldier knocks him down, and Joel says, "Please, you don't understand." Marlene says she does understand, because she was there when Ellie was born and promised her mother she would save her child. She's sorry, but she has no other choice. Joel says, "I do." And yeah, I understand that Marlene has known who Ellie is since she was born, and that is, essentially that's all that's left of her best friend, but she does not understand to the level that Joel understands. Marlene gave Ellie to Fedra to raise, to keep her safe. She has not spent day-to-day time with Ellie. She does not have the same kind of emotional connection that Joel does now. Even though she's known about who Ellie is, she hasn't spent no time with Ellie in this in this world. So it's just it's not the same connection. So Joel's insinuates that he has a choice and that he's going to do something about it. So Marlene tells the soldiers to walk him to the highway, just leave him with his backpack, and give him Ellie's switchblade. She tells them if he tries anything, shoot him. And then the soldiers escort Joel out here. He stops in front of a directory and looks at it, so he can kind of get a bearing on where everything is in the hospital. They go into the stairwell. He stops again. The soldiers are shoving him, telling him to keep going. He stops right at the bottom of the stairs. The soldier goes to push him. Joel turns around, gives him a back elbow, grabs his gun, shoots both of these soldiers, and here he has started it. He asks one of the soldiers, "Where is she?" He doesn't answer, so Joel shoots him, executes him, and he makes his way upstairs, and he starts mowing down everyone and anyone in his path. He is getting to Ellie, and he is getting her out of here. He is a man on a mission. I mean, he's, it's a interesting action piece. He's going into full on survival mode. I'm here to protect my family. This is what we've heard about Joel. We've heard it from Tess. We've heard it from Bill. We've heard it from Maria. I mean, people are scared of Joel because of the things he's done in the past. And we are to believe that he's done all these things, while with people he loves, either Tommy, his brother, or Tess. and he's done them to keep his family alive, and Ellie is his family now. So he is in that mode where he's like, okay, this is my purpose. This is what I live for, to keep the ones I love alive. And he's just like going full on like Terminator. He's like looking through glass. This one soldier's like coming around this corner, and it's like the glass you can't really see all the way through, but you could see the silhouette, right? So he shoots the glass, kills that guy. There's this other soldier that's like ready to like put his gun down and give up, but he's like, you know what, I know this guy's gonna come back around the corner and try to shoot me in the back, so he just kills that guy. He's killing all these soldiers that try to get in his way. He kills one of the soldiers and takes that soldier's assault rifle, continues on his path, and he eventually reaches the room where they are about to perform surgery on Ellie. And this whole scene is very interesting to hear. Like I said, I've been looking at people's reactions online, and it's been interesting to see how video game players have reacted, or a variety of reactions of video game players. Because you can really see how the video game players, when they played the game, their emotions they were projecting onto Joel, and they were remembering that that's what the game was telling them, but that's not really what the game was telling them, because in the game you don't have a choice to do these things to continue the game. You have to go on this tear and kill all these soldiers. There in the video game, there's areas that you got to like if you run out of ammo or something, you can sneak around people that you don't kill, but basically you're going through and killing everybody, and that's a choice that Joel is making in the game, and he's not reluctant about it at all. That was what is like a strong, powerful thing in the game, that you don't normally. It wasn't something that you saw in games often. Was that you playing as what you think most of the story is the hero of the game, and then you have to do things that you don't want to do as the player, but you have to do them to continue the game, because that's what the story is. You're doing what the story is. It wasn't a role playing game. It's not Dungeons and Dragons. It's not Skyrim. Or there was this game I remember that I think is a great comparison for what we're talking about. There was this game called Fable, and you could do it was a role playing game. You could do all kinds of things, and you could choose to do them in an evil way, or you could be good. And you had choice on that. In the Last of Us game, you do not have a choice. You have to go through and do these things because you are playing what the character of Joel is doing. But I saw a lot of reactions from game players being like, oh, well, Joel was really reluctant in this moment. No, no, no. That's how you were feeling as a player. But Joel is not reluctant. He is going through, he's killing these people, he's making the choice. And then when you get to the room where they're about to perform surgery, Joel says, unhook Ellie. The doctor says he won't let Joel take her, and he holds up a scalpel. In the show here, Joel shoots him in the head. A choice that Joel made. Another strong choice that he's making. Again, that I feel like a lot of game players, and it's interesting to see 10 years later, because for 10 years there's been game players that have been defending Joel, saying like, oh no, he's not a bad guy, he didn't do a bad thing, it's understandable what he did. but he's not a bad guy. Because he felt bad about it, he was reluctant. I can get on board with some of that. I can get on board with saying it's understandable what he did because, again, as a father to 5 children, I would do this for any one of my 5 children because I love them so much. I would not let them be killed for especially for a maybe, for a doctor who thinks that it could work, right? Especially if they didn't give their consent. But again, a lot of game players felt like Joel was reluctant here because you get to this moment, and the same thing happens in the game. The doctor doesn't want to let you take Ellie, and you could stand there for as long as you want. And again, the game is forcing you to choose what the character, or is forcing you to do what the character is choosing to do. It's not a game where you are making these choices. You are just playing out the choices of the character. You can stand there for 10 minutes if you want to and not kill this doctor, and you can feel like, you as the player, you can feel conflicted that you don't want to do this. And again, that's just the beauty of the game, is that it's forcing you to do something that you don't want to do, but you have to continue the story and see how the story goes, but you have to do what the character is actually choosing to do. And in fact, in the game, if you don't kill the doctor right away, the game is going to start prompting you like, hey, you need to press this button to continue. And you can kill him any number of ways. You can do a gun, you might have a flamethrower at this point in the game, you might have whatever. But if you just stand there forever and don't do it, the game is going to prompt you to press a button. You press the button, and then you end up like stabbing this doctor in the neck if you wait too long. But the reluctancy is on the player playing the game. It's not any reluctance from the actual character for what's happening. Like, he's choosing to do this. Now, what you can choose to do in the game is kill these nurses. People kill these nurses, and a lot of people who played the game found out for the first time that you don't have to kill these nurses. And that they really were the monsters if they killed those nurses, because the Joel in the show here does not kill these nurses. He just tells them, hey, okay, remove Ellie, like unhook her from all these things, cover her arm where the needle was in because it's bleeding, and then he takes her. He picks her up, takes her to an elevator, and when they get down there, they come out, and Marlene is there in the parking garage. Marlene just tells Joel, hey, you can't keep Ellie safe forever. She's going to grow up and leave you, or, she's either going to die because, she lives in a broken world. And it's a broken world that Joel could have saved. And Joel says to Marlene, it's not for you to decide. And Marlene says, it's not you either. And he knows that she would want to do it, that Ellie would want to do it. And Marlene's just like, you know what? We can still find a way, even after what you've just done. We can still find a way. Just leave her here, and it'll be okay. And then, boom, we cut to Joel driving. When we were back in the parking garage, there was a car there that was obviously ready to go, and Joel was thinking about taking it, and so we assume this is the car, and Joel is driving now. We only see Joel. It's a close-up on his face, so for this brief moment, we don't know if he left Ellie or if Ellie is with him. And then we see Ellie. She is laying in the back seat of the car, still wearing her gown that she was wearing while she was prepped for surgery. And then she comes to. Joel tells her that she was given drugs because they were running tests on her. Turns out there are dozens more immune people like her. The doctors tested and have not been able to make anything work. We cut back. We quickly flash back to Joel in the parking garage with Marlene, and he shoots her. He's carrying Ellie just like he carried Sarah 20 years ago, only this time he's armed. He kills the person that's trying to stop him from saving his daughter, like he didn't get to do 20 years ago. Then we cut back to again with Joel and Ellie in the car. Joel is telling Ellie, you know what? They've even stopped looking for a cure because there's dozens more like her. Nothing has worked, and they're done looking for a cure. And she's like, "Well, where are my clothes?" And Joel says, "Oh, raiders attacked the hospital. I barely got you out of there. We'll find you some clothes along the way here." Ellie asks if Marlene is okay. Joel doesn't answer that and just says that he's taking them home and says, "I'm sorry." And then we cut back to the parking garage again right after he didn't answer if Marlene was okay. And we see that Marlene here, Joe had shot her in the gut initially. Marlene's on the ground begging for Joel to let her go. Joel just says, "You just come after her," and shoots her in the head, killing her, obviously. And again, just the way most of this episode is just like the game, just proves how good to me. It proves to me how good the story was in the game, because they did it in live action form, and it all feels right. It all hits just as hard and just as good as it did in the game. They hardly had to change anything in this episode from the game. There's a few things that we will talk about when we do the game comparison episode, but they didn't change much, and they didn't have to. So Joel and Ellie, they're able to make it pretty far in the car that they're in. But it eventually breaks down, and they're about a 5-hour hike to Jackson. And so they get out, they start making the hike, and Joel again just making talk, trying to again just connect with Ellie, just making small talk, like about his daughter, explaining that that they probably would have been friends, even though they weren't alike. That Ellie probably would have made Sarah laugh, and that's why they would have been friends. And then they make it to a ridge that is overlooking Jackson, and they're just like, okay, there it is. Joel starts to walk towards it, and Ellie says, "Wait." And she starts to tell Joel about the first time she had to kill someone, and we do get it confirmed here that it was Riley. Riley turned before her and was going to tear her apart, so she had to kill Riley. And then she says, and then Tess died, then Sam and Henry. And Joel says, "Well, none of that's on you. Sometimes things don't work out the way we hope. Sometimes you feel like you've come to an end and we don't know what to do next. But if you keep going, you find something new to fight for." And he's about to say, "I know that's not what you want to hear," but and then Ellie interrupts him and says, "Swear to me. Swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true." Joel says, "I swear." Ellie thinks for a moment, kind of looks around, then looks back up and says, "Okay." And cut. That's the end of the episode. Oh my gosh. Just wow, right? Just again, blowing my mind again, all over again. Just like it did in the game. Oh my goodness. Right? As a parent, I understand why Joel did what he did to get to Ellie. Is it right? No, it's absolutely not right. He killed a lot of people in that hospital, a lot of innocent people, right? It's not right that he killed all those innocent people to save Ellie. Was it the right choice for Joel? Yes. Again, to me, if it were one of my children, I would do the same thing. So I understand why he did what he did. Not it's doesn't make it right though. I see a lot of people are saying like, did he do the right thing? No, he didn't do the right thing, but he did what I would have done if I were in his shoes. Um, you know, and you, I mean, you have to put yourself in his shoes and to be able to understand. Because some people just straight up say Joel is a bad guy. There's like that. This moment is totally unredeemable. He's a bad guy, and that it's not understandable at all. Because oh, he's taking a chance away at saving the world. Well, again, it's not 100% sure that it's going to save the world. A lot of, thinking and possibilities going on, but not 100% sure. And then, even if they make it, how are they going to get it out to everybody? There's obviously a lot of different factions of, um, wannabe governments since the world has ended. And none of them get along. So how are they going to get this out to everybody? There's a lot of things to be questioned here. So for even if it was 100% sure, I still would have done what Joel did, especially knowing that Ellie had not given consent. Here's the most wrong thing that Joel has done. Is lying to Ellie, because Ellie should have a choice. He was right in the garage to say that it's not Marlene's choice to make, but Marlene is right too. It's not really Joel's choice to make either. It is Ellie's choice, and nobody gave her that choice. Nobody. The Fireflies and Marlene did not give her a choice. Joel, in that moment, in killing everybody and then taking her and now lying to her, is not giving her the choice. The biggest thing is the lie, because he could tell the truth and then Ellie could decide for herself that, well, is there a way to get back there? Because if that's what they're saying, I want them to take the chance. But he doesn't even give Ellie the choice to make that kind of decision herself either. He lies to her and just tells her that, there was no cure. They're not even looking for a cure anymore. And in fact, everybody else died there because Braider showed up. Well, no, Joel did all that. But yeah, to me, that's the most unredeemable thing that Joel has done, or like least understandable thing that he has done. It's not, again, as a parent trying to save your child, to me, it's not, all the murdering he did to save his child. It's then lying to the child, about the choice. My goodness. And then the way the episode ends just cuts to black right after she says okay. It makes you just want more. You're already in the moment going, oh my gosh, so what happens next? How does this affect their relationship? We all know that Joel is lying. To me, the way I've always read it for the last 10 years, from the game and now similarly to the show, I read it as Ellie is only asking because she can feel that Joel is lying. So she's fishing for Joel to tell her what she feels is the truth, that like it doesn't seem right that I was in this hospital gown, and then they were talking to me, and then I wake up all of a sudden and we're dashing out of there, and you're telling me all the fireflies are dead. Doesn't feel right. And then that you're just telling me that all of a sudden there was dozens more like me and they're not even looking for a cure anymore. That's not believable. You know, you would think that this entire time, ever since this happened, that there's been whatever doctors are still left alive or people who are intelligent enough to try to figure these kind of things out. They're out there trying to figure out a cure for this or a vaccine or just a way to make the world back to how it was, right? So I don't think Ellie's gonna believe like, oh well, they're not even trying anymore. She's lived in this world for 14 years to know that, like, yeah, it would be a big deal if there was something that could be a cure. So to me, in this moment, she's fishing for Joel to come out and say what she feels is the truth. He doesn't, and now we have to wait and see how does that affect their relationship. How does Ellie feel about this going forward? You know, this what you know her greatest fear is ending up alone, and you know, but knowing what she knows, or feeling how she feels about what Joel is telling her, like, is that going to cause a big strain on her relationship, on their relationship, and how will that play out? This was something that game players had to wait 7 years for to find out. So I mean, yeah, I already know, but my goodness, like, what a the moment floored you when you play the game, and it should floor you when you're watching the show, right? Like, okay, well, how do they go forward from here? We just saw them build a relationship, and now just when it got to the point where it felt like this was going to be a beautiful thing for these, it could have been this beautiful father-daughter relationship that they could have had, and now it's going to be, we assume it's going to be strained. And to me, when I was when the first game came out, there was no announcement of a second game. So we just had to sit there and go, well, shoot, is that really it? Are they going to make a game 2? When are they going to make a game 2? And the game creators themselves, they didn't know if there was going to be a game 2 when they were making game 1. It all depended on the success of this game. And it was obviously very successful. It got a part 2. It's now been made into a TV show. But imagine at the time that the story that was it. That was the end of the story. There was no assurance that there was going to be more to the story at all. That could have been then. And if it was, what a great way to end something. I'm glad we got more. I'm glad we're getting more. It almost makes me kind of wish that they didn't announce season 2, because I would love to hear how people who are just show watchers, who are experiencing this story for the first time, how this moment would have hit them if they didn't know a second season was coming. Because they announced it early on that, wow, this show is a hit, we're going to do a season 2. What if there was no announcement and we get to the end of the show and people who had just watched the show got to the end here, like, they would be like freaking out, like, oh, what? You're just going to end it like that? How is there going to be a season 2? When are we going to get a season 2? I almost kind of wish that we were getting the same reaction as we did for the first time game players. But yeah, I thought this was amazing. Overall episode. There was a couple of things, from the game that I felt like could have enhanced it even a little bit more that we didn't get in the show here. But we'll talk about that in the game comparison episode. And again, this show is not over just because the season is over. We're going to do a lot of topics. We're going to, bring you news whenever there's news to come out. So make sure you are following the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, the YouTube channel. if you're watching this on YouTube, again, more Mikey. Mikey is spelled MMMIKIE. Um, subscribe to that, and we're gonna keep pushing out content and having a lot of fun things to talk about surrounding The Last of Us. And we'll just keep it going until we have a new season to review. Yeah, so send in the comments on YouTube, leave written reviews, and if you leave written reviews on Apple Podcasts, I'll definitely read those out and shout you out. If they are 5-star ratings, of course, those 5-star ratings will get those shout outs. Yes, and for now, yeah, just stay tuned because there's going to be a lot more to talk about. So until then, endure and survive.